I had like a pathway that I've always wanted to follow. And so for me, it was just a matter of being disciplined and continuing on with that mission and not allowing anything to stifle that journey.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our latest episode of Pioneers Pathway podcast. As always, you're joined by your two hopefully fabulous co-hosts, myself, Liam, and my good friend Sharia. Sharia, how are you doing? Are you all good?
All good, Liam, my friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. We are the fabulous co-hosts, right? I hope we are, at least. It's so great to have everyone join us again. It's been a bit of time since we last did a recording. Last spoke to everyone, but things have changed. The world has changed. The world has moved on. There's a lot of things going on. It's quite exciting to be around and to be watching the news, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, the way the world's been moving, especially since Mr. Trump came to power, things have been changing pretty much every day rather than, every week.
Yeah.
Hearing a new thing in the news, it's constantly changing, isn't it? It's quite volatile.
Exactly. But today's topic is something which has been around for quite a bit of time, actually. And that's why it's super interesting to be able to talk about it, social mobility, and sort of looking at social class, social background, and how that's evolving and changing. And we are super excited to welcome our guest on to today's podcast, Masharah. How are you doing, Masharah? Are you all good?
Hi, yes, I'm good. I'm great. Thank you. Very delighted to be here.
No, thank you. It's amazing to have you on. What we'll do, if we start by maybe if you can give a brief introduction to yourself, your background, your experience, and maybe linking back to social mobility and why you're so interested in that area.
Yeah, firstly, I just want to inform you that if you see me like moving my site, I have notes. So yeah, I'll be referring to my notes. So yeah. But yeah, I'm of Caribbean heritage. I think that's quite an important thing to mention because a big part of social mobility is heritage and, how that impacts an individual in terms of culture. But yeah, I was born in London, grew up in Birmingham. I have a very weird, unique background whereby I grew up in quite a toxic household. It was toxic for many reasons, but that is besides the point. Secondary school was quite difficult for that very reason. I found it I struggled, to do well in my academics because of what was going on at home. It meant that I got very average GCSEs. I managed to get high enough grades to do the A-levels that I wanted to, and I did well in my A-levels. However, during the first year of my A-levels, I faced homelessness. That was because COVID-19 changed a lot of our lives. For me, it meant that I had to face my reality, which was the reality of my household. I could not use education as a way to get away from my household and the toxic situation that was happening. And so I had to face literally my fears and face the consequences of that I had previously been able to just ignore and find an escape. And so that meant that I didn't last very long in the house. The best decision or route for me was to simply leave. And this was not even my choice, actually. I was forced out. And eventually I was homeless for around 3 months until they found me a place. I was 16 at the time. The social services found me a place, a women's hostel in South Birmingham, very close to the University of Birmingham. And that, I say, was when my life really transformed for the better. It was very scary moving out at 16, living independently. I received universal credit. That was the most money I'd ever had in my life, even though universal credit is not a lot. And it was also a period of quarantine. and coronavirus again, like I said. So it was a very isolating period. But I utilized that universal credit. I would travel. So basically, I went on a whole self reflection type period, like where I just, search opportunities that I knew would develop my confidence. I didn't really know much about myself. There wasn't time to think about myself when I was at home. And so I signed up for a whole lot of like opportunities. And just, I just wanted to get involved and see where my passions resided. And so I joined this 10-month masterclass program with Patrick Foundation. And that was my first insight into politics. I would use my universal credit to travel to London once a month and receive masterclasses from politicians like Nadine Zahawi, the CEO of the Labour Party, CEO of the Conservative Party, CEOs of City. I actually led the first briefing, and that was just crazy for me because I had communication issues, confidence issues. So yeah, that was great. And then very quickly, this was during my gap year. By the way, I took a gap year to try and gain experience and to slow down and stuff. I also joined BBC Children in Need later on during my gap year. I became a curator for Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery. They collaborated with the Commonwealth Games, and my job was to create design a decolonization plan for Birmingham Museum in the form of an exhibition. I was one of 5 curators, and that lasted a year. And so, yeah, Warwick University, I got into Warwick. I studied philosophy. I won a number of awards in my first year, such as Black Undergraduate of the Year Award, Black Heritage Undergraduate of the Year Award. I was invited to number 10 Downing Street just randomly. I still don't know why that was the case. I also won an Upcreech Social Mobility Award for like my resilience. And yeah, I did so many things. And as a result of that, I achieved a lot. And yeah, that's just a brief introduction.
No, that's amazing. And to be honest, a lot of things that I didn't even know about, truly inspiring, and a lot to sort of break down, isn't it, Sharia? A lot to explore. But what I wanted to ask you was, your experience when you were homeless. When that's quite an experience, and obviously probably when you're rock bottom, right at the low, especially when you're 16, a very young age to be doing that. What was the turning point at that time, which really felt you need to push and you want to do these experiences, you want to go forward? What was that? Was there a person there who inspired you, or was it sort of the experience that I can't do this forever, I want to improve my situation?
Yes, number one, since year 9, I'd always known that I wanted to go into law. So that didn't stop. So that meant that I had like a pathway that I've always wanted to follow. And so for me, it was just a matter of being disciplined and continuing on with that mission and not allowing anything to stifle that journey. If not, I'd use this situation in my head to leverage how I get into law and make it easier for myself to get into law. And so for me, the way to do that was to leverage my independence and my freedom, the fact that I had so much freedom to, live my life the way I wanted to, set my own timetables. I wasn't in a toxic environment, or the same toxic environment that I had been that had obstructed my growth. And so I was like, this is the best situation I could have asked for. So there's nothing stopping me from continuing to persevere and aim for this career in law. I did have wonderful people around me. So number one, my grandma. My grandma lives in London, but she stayed in contact with me, and I got along with. She was like one of the only family members that I had a consistently positive relationship with at the time. My grandma and my auntie, and so I was able to talk to them, gain guidance and motivation from them. They helped me move in, and they helped me. They talked to my then social support workers. I had support workers. She was like the only family member that actually got to know my support workers from a distance. But yeah, she was very, very helpful. And then my support workers.
Just to focus in a bit more on those people, right?
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask, how important is it for people to find the support network, right? Whether it's family or friends, or in your case, it was a support network at the like social support.
Yeah.
Would you say it's really important to be
It's
able
so
to find
important.
those people?
It's so important because I was going to speak to the environment that I was in. I say my home was toxic, but that hostel was equally toxic. But how that impacted me was dictated by my mindset. I didn't let it affect me. So I saw people go down, the route of drugs, and the rebellious lifestyle that would have you like, yeah, really stuck. I could have chosen to go down that route, but I saw it as a motivation to like move away from that. Like that motivated me to work even harder. I met people that had been there for years, stuck, because sometimes universal credit can make you very stuck, because you become reliant upon it. And if you start working, the government takes away, deducts your universal credit. And so you're better off just not working sometimes. So yeah, I use that as motivation. And my support workers, their knowledge and their insight into how, people in my situation have been affected by living in the hostel helped me know how to navigate around and be strategic. And they kept me, they're very diligent. I had accountability. They hold me accountable. They created budgeting tools for me. They helped me apply to universities, and they would just be there to talk to me. I remember when I left the hostel, I was crying because I was like, you guys have changed my life. You guys have been unreal. And I even became a support worker. One time, they invited me to interview people to become support workers, because they thought that the insight that I'd gained from working with them, and also my whole story, would mean that I would be able to actually help them hire people that I think would benefit other people in my situation. And then my grandma, it's so important. I was very lucky to have a family member as almost a mentor. It's so important to have someone that knows you, knows what you've been through, because a lot of us, when we go through these problems, we can gaslight ourselves. We can gaslight the impact of coming from our backgrounds. It's not all bad, obviously, but so you can become so numb to what you've been through that you completely put it aside, or you start to blame yourself for the issues or the difficulties that you're experiencing. But with my grandma, she'd known what I'd been through. She knew exactly what I'd gone through, and so she was able to give me advice on the basis of that, allowing me to develop, but also preventing me from gaslighting myself. So yeah.
And so, taking that experience and taking those perspectives and thoughts you've had for what has been quite a long and sort of turbulent time, coming out a bit further away from the experience into social mobility, how important do you think it is for society in general, and also for sort of the 21st century workplace? How important is social mobility in bringing people from diverse backgrounds together?
It's very, very, very important. as you know, as you probably heard this phrase many times, but diversity equals diversity of thought, and diversity of thought is what helps a company to profit, and also helps a company to retain its employees. Sorry, like going into corporate, um, well, especially corporate law, it's a very elite industry, a very elite career, and so it's so easy for employers to be blindsided, or like indifferent to how their policies impact their employees, and this indifference detrimentally impacts people from low socioeconomic backgrounds or adverse, backgrounds. For instance, like I found that at a particular firm, a lot of the lawyers were very privileged, which is normal, as I say, but they didn't really understand how, like a certain policy might impact an employee that doesn't come from the privileged backgrounds that they came from. That could be as simple as so like organizing socials for employees. Um, uh, like I'm not going to disclose names, but there's one lawyer that told me that she was going to go on a trip, and this was organized by the law firm. The law firm wasn't going to fund it, and someone was like, "Oh, it's only X amount of money," and she was like, "Your conception of that amount of money is very different to mine," and that ignorance is it negatively impacts people from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and so we need diversity of thought because we need to educate people that don't come from those backgrounds. We need to educate them as to how to approach these circumstances, how a policy or something might impact them, a person from from a low socioeconomic background.
But do
I
you also
think
think
it just lacks nuance when diversity of thought isn't there.
yeah, no, and actually that leads on quite well to what I was going to say about innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because innovation has always been the diversity of thought, bringing minds from different backgrounds, experience, and cultures, and bringing that together. And what you create is always what everyone says is innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's people from low socioeconomic backgrounds, people from different countries, nationalities? That's really important, right? We can't just be stuck in with the same sort of boat of people because everything will stagnate.
And
Exactly,
just
that's
sorry,
very true.
just it's sort of odd what you said previously. It's just a question I have. Also, you mentioned law is quite elitist, but have you noticed a change in the last sort of 10, 15 years where diversity has been prioritized in other industries? I'm not so sure about law, but what have you noticed from your experience?
So it has been definitely implemented in some shape or form, but it's in my experience, it becomes questionable when you're actually there. So I find that my experience. So first, in first year and second year, mainly first year, I would attend insight days, which are basically you going into the firm for a day, them presenting you, pitching their firm to you, and maybe you do like one or two exercises. But it's mainly them pitching their diversity or innovation, etc. But that is very different. I feel like there's sometimes a struggle for them to actually implement it in practice when you're at the firm. So I've done internships for 3 to 4 weeks. I've done some for like 2 weeks recently. But it's I see that it's actually hard. It's not, well, I'm not sure how hard it is, but it's not easy for them to translate what they say they do into like what they actually do. I don't know if that makes sense. So, like from what I've experienced, number one, there's not enough diversity in some of these firms to even implement the policies or to action the things that they say that they will do. And number
So
two,
that's sort of the lack of diversity, but is
yes,
also the bureaucracy or the priorities, because sometimes firms will prioritize money over investing in their business rather than investing in their personnel. What
yeah,
kind of area do you think that is causing that?
yeah. So I'm going to make a bunch of assumptions because I have no idea what they prioritize. But I can, number one, yes, it's very clear that they prioritize, a lot of them prioritize profit. That, like, that's, you know, that's just business, isn't it? But I think the Trump policies don't help. I'm not saying that the institutions that I've worked in have kind of adhered to that. But I think, yeah, there's not really, because there is a lack of diversity within the firms already. There's not really an incentive for them to truly implement what they say they're going to implement. Can you repeat what you asked so it can be precise?
Was that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just talking about whether it's obviously you touched upon the financials and priorities, but do you think bureaucracy also hinders
Oh,
progress?
yes. Yes, definitely. I think with, well, I do think they're trying. I do think they're trying. And I think it's a timely process. Like implementing diversity and all of that is very timely, and it also depends on like law firms like to balance diversity, all of that, with meritocracy, with, like, the merit of students. So I think like it's very difficult to hire enough diversity, but also ensure whilst also ensuring that they actually can do the job. I think that is those two things conflict with each other. And so, like, I've on a lot of my internships, I've been like maybe, yeah, the minority, obviously. Like, on my last scheme, there were like 3 black people on my scheme also. Yeah, including me. And so, yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this. It's a very hot, difficult question because I don't know what they do. But so from my experience, I just don't really see that they are, like, actually successfully implementing their diversity. Like, they have stats and stuff, but there's diversity is more than stats. Like, I was going to talk about gaps that a lot of people from, like, low socioeconomic backgrounds have. Not just in terms of knowledge, but in terms of like corporate awareness, corporate etiquette, simple things. I find that when we enter into these institutions, they seem to think that these gaps just become filled, or that all of our problems suddenly disappear, and that we can seamlessly enter into these environments and perform at the same pace and level as the more privileged students. And so I think it would be helpful if diversity programs or initiatives at firms focus on this, because, like, the assumption is that all of our problems just disappear, and that's just not true. And so it means that, in a lot of corporate environments, I felt like an imposter because I'm like, I didn't know that. Like, a lot of students I find on these schemes have parents that are partners in law firms, or that have worked in corporate, and so they acquire these you know they acquire corporate etiquette, like it's just second nature to them. Like, even basic things like attending law firm socials, knowing where to place knife and forks and all of that. All of that is just something that we just didn't have time to think about. And yeah, I don't know if that's
So,
like off on a
Sorry.
tangent, but yeah.
So would you say it's a case of, these firms engaging in greenwashing and treating these things as more of a tick box exercise rather than wanting a more beneficial outcome?
From my experience, yes. And maybe I've not been at the firms for long enough, and so I can't speak to it. Like I can't be, you know, yeah, yeah. I think I lack experience in, like, I can't really speak to the true success of these. But from my experience, it feels like um, it seems like a tick box exercise, or maybe perhaps they just lack what we want and what we just spoke to. They lack the diversity of experience that would allow them to fill in those gaps, and to hear those various perspectives. And if those perspectives aren't there, then they're not going to think to implement certain issues.
So I just moving on a bit more towards more of your personal outlook, what you've been doing since school age going into university. Obviously you've been achieved so much and been able to experience so many opportunities. How do you find the time to do it all, plus your studies, plus navigating what is a really difficult like personal life as well? How do you find the time and to do all of these things, if I can put it bluntly? And what's your strategy? Is your aim to be able to experience as much as possible, whether that's student life, student activities? I know you're on the board of many different groups and you've done so many different work experience opportunities. And so the second part is, what do you look for? And in your position, what do you look for and what do you hope that will achieve for you in the long term?
Yeah, so I'm all about acquiring as many experiences as possible because I feel like my past experiences have shown me that you gain transferable skills from literally anything. Like I said, I've done charity work, I've done museum art and heritage work, and yeah, all of that has helped me tremendously. And so I could have narrowed my experiences and stuff to just law, but that gets rid of the fun of life. I think that you should explore as many avenues as possible without overwhelming yourself because you never know. Like I'm still open to going down other career paths, so I'm not going to narrow down my experiences for the sake of achieving one thing. You don't know where life is going to take you. And how do I find time? I always say that like my degree was kind of my side hustle. So I I feel like you have to it's very hard to have balance. I think the concept of balance is so unrealistic for a student. Like I don't have balance in any sense. I think sacrifice is a more realistic kind of idea to adhere to. I've had to sacrifice going to lectures. I don't recommend that, but like my priorities were to get my degree, but also expand my skill set in as many avenues as possible. Well, through as many avenues as possible. And so I would often, like in first year, I was just an academic weapon in first year. This is an unrealistic schedule and timetable. I've spoken to Vinay about it. So this is not necessary, but I felt at the time that it was necessary. I woke up at 4:30 every day. I would meal prep on a Sunday I'd meal prep breakfast, lunch and dinner, for the entire week. And then I would get to the gym by 6 a.m. and then get to the library by 8 a.m. And then I will go to lectures and stuff between them, I'll study in the library and go to lectures. And then, yeah, and again, I would sacrifice, whether I thought the lecture would be useful or not. I'd be strategic in that sense. And I would leave the library or leave university at around 10 p.m. And I did that every single day for all of first year and then a bit of second year. In second year, I decided I need to make friends. I need to experience university, and not be so hard on myself through because of this like really strict schedule. But that helped me a lot because I was able to get the most out of my day, apply to internships and insight days, but also commit to my essays and my academic responsibilities. But final year, I took a chill pill. I decided to wake up. Right, I didn't wake up at any time, but I woke up at like 8. For me, 8 is late because of the 4 a.m. routine I had before. And I wasn't hard on myself as to what time I'd reach the library. I would take time to, like, I barely meal prepped this term. I just, I've been a lot more relaxed. But I think your schedule should be dictated by the period of time in which you are in, the goals that you were trying to achieve. I felt that because of the goals I was trying to achieve in first year, because of the nature of them, I thought it was very necessary for me to commit to that schedule. But as time has progressed, I felt that was just not necessary. And so you need to be strategic about what is going on in your life. And like, I just don't agree with like I wouldn't do the 4 a.m. routine for no reason. So yeah,
No, that's
believe in balance, sacrifice.
I think 4 a.m. There's only 0.01% of the entire world who do that. But those are the people who achieve things. But equally, isn't much. You adapt for what you want to achieve, and you adapt for the circumstance, right? And
Exactly.
and,
Oh my
and a lot
gosh.
of respect for that. So no, thank you so much for coming on today. I think that was really, really insightful, very inspiring as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of our viewers have questions. So hopefully over time we can be able to answer that, feed that back to you as well.
Yes.
But also you're on LinkedIn, right? So if anyone
I am.
wants to get in touch, they can get in touch via that, right, and speak to you on LinkedIn.
Yes, and I just realized my lip gloss was literally dripping. I'm so sorry, guys. But
No,
thank you so much for having me.
don't worry, I know, and thank you for coming on as well. And yeah, Sharia, we've got some exciting guests lined up for the summer months. So yeah, all the viewers just tune in and keep an eye out on our socials, right, for what's coming up next.
Thank you so much.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure they know where to find us by now.
Yeah, of course. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.